Okay, so I've done some videos in the past on this topic, but I want to bring it up again because it's amazing how many people don't know about this. There is a bank out there that is arguably the most powerful bank in the world, and it is above the law, and it does affect us. So you do need to know about this bank because this bank plays a central role in the globalist efforts to dominate the global financial system. So let's talk about it. Welcome back to the channel. Please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Okay, so the bank I'm referring to is the Bank for International Settlements, also known as BIS. And the BIS holds more behind-the-scenes power than any other bank in the world. All right, so what do they do? Well, to put it simply, the BIS clears money and debt for most of the world's central banks. And the BIS operates with sovereign immunity, so it can operate with impunity, and it exerts enormous influence over the global financial system.
Let's start with this. This is all happening at the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS.
The BIS, as it was known, would be the central bank to Europe's national banks.
This BIS crowd, Bank of International Settlements, it's a central bank for central bankers.
The international banking cartel that controls the central banks operates under the rules set by an international body called the Bank for International Settlements.
It keeps its head low. It's owned by the same families.
Well, I always say the BIS is the most important bank in the world that you've almost certainly never heard of. It's the bank for central banks. It's the banks where they do their banking.
The Bank for International Settlements is often referred to as the Bank for Central Banks, shrouded in mystery and power, with an agenda to take full control of your money through one unified ledger and a CBDC globally. There has never been a better time to understand who this entity is and how you can protect yourself.
All right, so let's unpack this a little bit, and we'll talk about why you need to be aware of this. Okay, so the BIS was established in 1930 under what's known as the Hague Agreement. And it was partly established to handle the reparations that Germany owed after World War I. Okay, so the founding members of this bank included the central banks of Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, the UK, Japan, Switzerland, the USA, etc. Then, over time, its mission evolved from just including the reparations from World War I. And it became what's known as the Bank of Central Bankers. That's the nickname for the BIS. So they hold and manage deposits from central banks all around the world, and they facilitate cooperation among the central banks, okay? So when big deals are done between countries, BIS largely acts as the clearinghouse of these big transactions. Okay, so membership to the BIS is limited to central banks or, comparable monetary authorities. And today, the BIS has over 60 members. Now, the most stark legal feature of the BIS is its legal immunity. Under its original agreement and subsequent treaties between governments, they have a very broad exemption from the seizure of assets, disablement, restrictive measures, seizure or confiscation, really any kind of reprisals in any nature of any kind. Several countries have domestic legislation giving BIS immunity from any legal process. For example, Canada has a law, an act that is literally titled the BIS Immunity Act. And that makes the BIS immune from any kind of civil lawsuits. In the UK, special host country orders grant BIS legal capacity, plus immunities and privileges that are necessary for its operations. So a lot of these countries give BIS very special, rights and privileges, way above and beyond what is enjoyed by other banks. In the United States, Congress passed an amendment to the International Organizations Immunity Act, and that extends the same kind of, rights and privileges that's given to them by other countries. Okay, so because of all of this immunity, BIS is shielded from any kind of regulation. So that is why I said that, in most cases, the BIS is above the law. They can operate with impunity. Okay, so there are so many things I would love to say about the BIS, but I doubt you guys will stick around for all that information. So I want to kind of cut to the chase here, okay? why is this important? Why should you care? Well, you have to understand that when you have this kind of a bank that can operate, above the law, and they act as the central bank to central bankers, then the central banks around the world can use the BIS in order to, hide stuff, hide bad debt, and to hide money that they don't want us to know about. I mean, there is a number out there, $21 trillion, that, I've done videos about, but no one else does videos about, and I don't know why no one does, that is kind of unaccounted for. Where the hell did that money go? Could it be at the BIS?
Back 30 years that people in the U.S. government and in the finance world wanted money for space.
Yeah, it wasn't U.S. government. It was the central banking. If you look at the group of people who meet through the BIS.
What's that?
The BIS is the Bank of International Settlements, and it's the central bank of central banks.
Where is that located?
It's in Basel, Switzerland, and it has 63 of the most powerful central banks as its members, and the New York Fed and the Fed are both shareholders. They became shareholders in 1994.
In one sentence, what's the purpose of the Bank of International Settlements?
Okay, so there are two things you need to know about the Bank of International Settlements.
I'm not sure my brain's big enough for this, but keep going.
It is.
Okay.
It has sovereign immunity.
What does that mean?
It's above the law.
It's its own country.
Right. It's its own country. It has its own police force. And essentially, other than one of its staff being in a car accident or, minor things, no one has the legal authority to move against it. Okay. It has sovereign immunity. That's number one. Number two, it can move money and hold it on its on its balance sheet and manage money secretly. So if I want to, I'm grossly oversimplifying, if I want to steal $21 trillion from the U.S. government and park it on the balance sheet of the BIS, it can move it anywhere in the world and it can keep it on its balance sheet secretly.
Why would there be an organization? But first of all, where does its power? Like, who empowered it to have sovereign immunity in the right?
It was created after World War I and sort of collected its powers and got going in the 30s. And it was created in theory to manage the reparations of the German government. But if you read the real history, it was because the Bank of England and the central bankers wanted an entity that had sovereign immunity.
The secrecy of the place. Every 2 months, the 60 central bankers, the most leading central bankers of the world, such as Ben Bernanke and Mervyn King and Mario Draghi, meet there to talk about monetary policy and the global financial system. But we don't know anything about those meetings. They don't release any information about them. We don't have an attendance list. We don't know what themes are discussed.
Part of the reason that there's such limited accountability and transparency is that it was created by an international treaty. This treaty essentially makes the BIS untouchable.
I think there's not enough publicity about the nefarious nature of this cartel. Of course, there's always talk about OPEC, that it's an oil cartel, that it's a nefarious institution and run by the Arabs and the Russians, right? But this one is the granddaddy of all cartels. It's been running since 1930. And I want to do a refresher on this. I spoke just over a month ago about this international banking cartel and the fact that, yes, the head of the snake is the BIS.
There is still much debate over what the BIS is. Half international organization, half banking institution. It acts and operates as if it's a bank, but it enjoys the freedoms and powers of an intergovernmental organization, even though its members are central banks, not governments.
So when the central banks have bad news or they've got debt that they don't want you to know about, they can hide it inside of the BIS. So you think that the financial system is on shaky ground right now? Well, that's just what we know about. Well, what about the things that we don't know about? I mean, I've been talking about the BIS and the issue with the international financial system for 4 years now. And that is why years ago I adopted the mantra on our channel: get your money out of the bank, acquire some gold and silver, and establish streams of passive recurring income. So the nefarious nature of the BIS is just one more reason why you have to look out for yourself, because your government's not going to look out for you. Nobody's going to look out for you, so you have to do it yourself. Please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Ed Anderson, live from Minnesota, signing out.
Copy that.